Hello everyone. Sorry about the long delay, but I have another great Cyberpunk build for you guys today. This one I call the Tech Tank build, and it pairs high health with high damage and a powerful healing ability that's really unmatched in the game. This build works great in any situation, and unlike a lot of builds that need to close ground quickly, this one can take its time and really determine the pace of combat for itself. Jumping right in, for attributes on this one you're going to need 16 body and 18 technical ability. This build will essentially be completed at level 23, leaving you with 27 attribute points to allocate as you see fit. Talking about attributes again, the 16 in body will provide us with access to perks and cyberware that give us excellent survivability, and the 18 in technical ability will give us perks and cyberware that contribute to both survivability and huge damage. Now let's talk perks. For body, we're mostly pulling from the athletics tree with our perks. We're going to pick up Invincible, Regeneration, Cardio Cure, Dog of War, and Wolverine. Invincible is by far the most important perk here, as we're really working to max out our health for reasons that will become apparent later on. For technical ability, we'll be pulling perks from both the engineering and crafting trees. From engineering, we're going to pick up Ubercharger, Tesla, up to 11, all walls, and Lickety Split. These perks give us a huge boost to damage when charging up tech weapons and reduce the amount of time needed to hit full charge. The most important perk of this bunch is going to be the up to 11 perk, which this build will not function without. I'll give more explanation on this later when we get to the required cyberware. Finally, from the crafting skill tree, we're going to pick up Field Technician, Grease Monkey, and Edge Runner Artisan. These perks will give us access to the most powerful equipment in the game, and will increase their damage by virtue of being crafted by us. The required cyberware for this build are going to be the Feedback Circuit, Biomonitor, and Synaptic Signal Optimizer. Let's start by talking about the Feedback Circuit. This cyberware is the main player of this build, and we're going to pick up the legendary version from Buck's Clinic located here in Kabuki. The legendary version requires 15 technical ability and has no street cred requirement, making it a great pickup early in the game. So let's talk about how this cyberware works. It reads as follows. Instantly restores 10% health after you discharge a fully charged weapon. This effect in itself doesn't sound too bad, but there's actually a lot about this cyberware that isn't fully explained. So let me clarify a few points about it. This cyberware does pair with tech weapons, but requires the up to 11 perk to do so. Tech weapons at their base do have a charge time and increased damage when you hit that charge, but for some reason they only go up to about 50%. The only way to fully charge a tech weapon is to pick up the up to 11 perk, so make sure you max out that perk as soon as you have access to it. Second, there are a few conditions in place that determine if you will heal, and by how much. This is where things get slightly complicated, so here are a few rules that will help you better understand how the cyberware works. First, when your weapon fires, it needs to hit a viable target in the initial burst. If you miss your shot, you won't get any healing. Second, weapons that fire volleys only proc on the first volley. For example, the Omaha Tech Pistol fires 3 times per charge, but you only get this healing effect to activate off the first set of shots, and only if you land the first set of shots. Finally, the 10% healing is actually applied to every bullet in the initial volley. This is where the real power of the cyberware comes from. Instead of healing 10% when you fire your weapon, you actually heal 10% times the number of shots in the initial volley. This is easiest to see with the Widowmaker iconic tech rifle. The gun fires 6 shots per trigger pull, and when charged, it heals you for 60% of your maximum health. For the Biomonitor, we're going to pick up the Epic version of this cyberware, which can be purchased from the Ripper Dock over in Haywood Wellsprings, found here on the map. This version requires 15 body and gives us a nice boost to health when we get a little too close to dying. Finally, we're picking up the Epic version of the Synaptic Signal Optimizer. This cyberware can be purchased from Kravitz's clinic found here in Charter Hill, and also requires 15 body. There's nothing too fancy about this cyberware, but an additional 50% health is massive, and the higher our health, the higher our healing. For equipment, we're going to pick up the Lizzie Iconic Tech Pistol, the Widowmaker Iconic Tech Rifle, and the Quasar Legendary Tech Revolver. Before I talk about where to get these weapons and what mods to apply to them, I want to talk about the upgrading process. When you find an iconic weapon, you also unlock the crafting spec to upgrade it to its epic and legendary version. However, just because you upgrade the weapon doesn't mean you automatically get the best version of the weapon. The stats of these weapons are randomized when you craft them. I will show you the best rolls that I could find for these weapons at the level I'm at, but I heavily advise you to save before you craft the weapons and reload if you don't get the stats that you're looking for. You don't necessarily need a perfect roll, but there's some stats that are better than others, like crit damage and charge multiplier, so make sure you're at least getting what you want. To start with, the Lizzie Tech Pistol is found during the quest Automatic Love when you go to talk to Judy while searching for Evelyn. Head down to the basement of the Lizzie's Club, then just grab the pistol. No fuss involved. For mods, use the site of your choice, and then 1 Countermass mod, and 3 Legendary Crunch mods. Next, the Widowmaker Tech Rifle is found during the mission Ghost Town. During the mission, agree to help Pan Am with killing Nash, take out all the Raffins at their hideout, and grab the rifle off Nash's body. Choose whatever scope you like, and for this one, 4 Crunch mods for damage. Finally, we get to the Quasar Tech Revolver. The legendary version of this weapon can be crafted once you hit level 16 in the crafting skill. Once again, use whatever scope you prefer, and use 1 Countermass mod and 3 Crunch mods. Now, don't sleep on this weapon. It might feel a little bit underwhelming compared to some of our other weapons, but this is actually the main weapon we're going to be using for bosses. In general play, definitely use the other 2 weapons that I've mentioned, but the Quasar actually takes out bosses ridiculously fast with this setup. For demonstration, here's a fight with Sasquatch.
She must have a weak
None
spot.
of those chair jocks could have zeroed that many from my pack. Come at me!
Now to watch it.
For some finishing touches, I'm going to show you where to get the legendary Armadillo mod, the epic EMP grenades, and also mention where to find the Countermass mod and crafting spec for the scalable Crunch mod. For the Armadillo mod crafting spec, there is a little RNG involved, but with any luck it shouldn't take too long to find. You're going to start by heading to the Raffin base located here on the map, the same place that you need to rescue Saul from during the quest Riders on the Storm. Clear out the enemies, then go inside the base and check all the chests around the area. These have a really high likelihood of carrying armor mods. Since most of our damage is being supplied by tech-related charge perks and by the crunch mods, we aren't as incentivized to use crit damage mods on our clothing as other builds may be. So just craft up a bunch of legendary mods and stack yourself with tons of armor. The epic EMP grenade is craftable and is easily obtainable. The crafting spec for this grenade can be found at the Assault in Progress mission located here in downtown City Center. Even if you're low level, you can still just run up and grab the spec. I'm playing on very hard and the enemy AI is still, well, it seems to want to ignore you. Just run in, grab the spec, run out, little fuss involved. The Countermass mod is purchasable from the firearm vendor located here in the Kabuki Market. Walk in, purchase the mod, and equip it. Really just as easy as that. Finally, the crafting spec for the Crunch mod can be purchased from firearm vendors. I believe that there are several vendors that sell this mod, but the most consistent one that I've found that stocks it is the one located here in Rancho Coronado. Check the stock, and if they aren't carrying it, just walk outside, wait a day, and try again. In particular, we're looking for the scalable version of this mod, which typically looks white but will scale to whatever your crafting level is. This mod and the Armadillo mod both scale with crafting level, not technical ability. So even though it may look like you're purchasing that common variant, it will level up as you level up your crafting. And that's it. Grab those perks in Cyberware, find your equipment, craft up your gear, and run around Night City like the unstoppable tank that you are. As always, thank you for watching. This video ended up clocking in a lot longer than I'd anticipated, so I'm going to do a shortened leveling guide with just a few tips for leveling things like your athletics and crafting skills. In any case, leave a comment for any questions or future builds that you'd be interested in seeing. The editing process takes me a really long time with this style of video, so if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate you dropping a like or subscribing for more. Alright, so for this one, we're going to start off by building our character and giving ourselves 6 body, 6 technical ability, and 4 in whatever stat you like best. Progress through the intro, get your first level up, and for levels 1 through 10, we're going to put all of our attributes into technical ability, getting us up to 15. We're also going to pick up and max out the perks Invincible, up to 11, Tesla, and Ubercharge. Our next 10 levels are going to go into body, getting us up to 16 in the stat. During this time, pick up and max out Regeneration, Cardio Cure, Dog of War, and Wolverine. Finally, put your next 3 levels into technical ability, getting the stat up to 18. Grab the perk Lickety Split from Engineering, and that's it for all of our damage perks. At this time, you should have about 6 leftover perk points. We're going to save those for later. Now, let's level up our athletics skill. This skill is ridiculously grindy, so we're actually going to use an exploit to speed up the leveling process. Grab yourself a melee weapon and head to Kravitz Clinic, where you're going to buy the cheapest berserk that money can buy. If you already own a berserk, then just use that. Otherwise, Kravitz has the cheapest one that you can purchase. Head outside, pull out your weapon, and swing it until you have about 25% of your stamina remaining. Then, quickly activate Berserk, charge a power attack and release it before your stamina goes back above 50%, and enter into your character menu before the swing finishes. This may take a few tries to get right, but once you work out the timing, it's really not difficult to do. To check if you've done it correctly, head to your stats menu, check your athletics skill, and then exit and re-enter the skill. If the experience has gone up in the time that you are outside of that skill, then you got this exploit to work. Now that it's working, just find something to do for about an hour because this really is going to take a little while. Finally, we get to crafting. No exploits here, just a grind. Start by maxing out the perks True Craftsman, Grease Monkey, Edge Runner Artisan, Cost Optimization, Ex Nihilo, and Field Technician. Then, gather 50,000 eddies or so, and head to the scrap vendor located here on the map. Purchase out all of his uncommon and common parts, those are the green and white parts, and then wait 24 hours and repeat until you've run out of your money. Head to the nearby fuel station, and enter your crafting menu. Craft as many copies of the Nekomata Sniper as you can. Sell the snipers to the kiosk for a nice profit, then head back to the scrap dealer. Now, depending on your crafting level, what you craft is going to change. You could keep doing the Nekomata Snipers, but it doesn't really yield that much experience, so it could take a while. Instead, once you unlock the rare set of crafting specs, start crafting the Polycarbonate Western Fringe Vest, which is one of the specs that you'll unlock as you level up. Once you hit Epic, craft the SOR-22 Precision Rifle. Once again, one of those crafting specs you unlock as you level up. Keep at this until you max out your crafting, and finally you'll have access to the legendary versions of the Armadillo and Crunch mods. This is probably going to take a few hours to complete, so prepare yourself for a bit of a grind and don't be afraid to break it up with some gameplay in between. Well, that's all I've got for you today. As always, you can find the build layout in the description, and again, please consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. This has been Kid, and I'll see you next time.